Hi guys, it's Blackie for Shaman's Forge Bushcraft. In Bushcraft Kit, I would like to discuss different components of what makes up a Bushcraft Kit, bushcrafting set. Let's take it component by component. And today we're going to start with one of the most battered around names and most misunderstood concepts of the bushcraft, and that is the haversack. So let me get set up. I'll get the camera set down and we'll lay out the gear, and we're going to talk about what is a haversack. Stay with me, be right back. What is a haversack? The haversack is the transition between what is carried all the time on my body, such as my knife, my matches, my compass, my canteen, etc., and the things that I carry in my backpack, my knapsack, my rucksack. What those are for are camp and stopping, and I'm taking out to cook, to set up shelter, to do something. The haversack is something that rides on me that's for quick access, for things that I'm going to use a lot, like a field journal, a notebook, binoculars, things like that. And so we're going to look in a minute at a few different ideas to carry in a haversack. Sorry for the wind, I'm trying to mask it as best I can. But it's basically that transition point from being a belt body carry to being a backpack carry. It's in between. So let me adjust the camera and I'll show you some of the ideas for haversack kit mentality. What to think about to carry. Now what you see arrayed out here are various ideas for things to carry in your haversack. So let's start with what is the haversack itself. Well, traditionally it was a cloth sack like this, made out of light leather or cloth, single fold, and was held with some sort of closure of buttons, snaps, buckles, something like that. About that size is roughly what a haversack was. Some sort of adjustable buckle usually, and a shoulder strap slinging across. Now in modern times you can use surplus. This is actually a magazine carrier that I cut the dividers out and made a little small haversack out of, with a couple of extra pockets on the outside, and then sewed to the back a carrier for, I believe it's a binocular case, but it makes for a light, handy haversack. Leather, like this one that I use in Living History that I made out of elk, and it's got internal pockets in it that I put into it to divide out the gear. Internal pockets are very handy when you're looking for specific items, something that you don't want to lose. You want to be able to reach down and pull it out at a whim and know exactly where it is so you don't have to grope for it. So a leather haversack, very nice, very durable. Another piece of surplus that does real good is a U.S. Army butt pack. Now these have attachments where you can hook them to your belt. They also have attachments where you can suspend something above or below them, and you just simply clip one of the carrying straps to it, and it becomes a haversack to carry your gear in. The personal one that I've carried and I've talked about in my videos is this. This is an old U.S. Army ammunition pouch, and I have gone over the contents of this in an earlier video, so you may want to refer back to it. I carry a spare compass, spare blade. It's basically a fire kit for me because I carry the rest of it in my head. I know what I need and how to make it out of the environment. So I don't have to carry a great deal of extra gear. And this is a roly-poly dump pouch on the side for gathering wild edibles and etc. Now, let's discuss what goes into the pack. Well, that's going to vary on your intent. If you're just doing it for day walking, to look, to sightsee, maybe a small pair of binoculars, definitely you want to get a small journal and put into there. Now, this is a leather journal that I made that I jot down notes, ideas, carry a good pen, and this is extremely handy to have out there so that I can write down ideas that pop into my head, questions I want to answer later on, or you know, lay of the land, something that I discovered that I want to come back and find on a map or something like that. That's what this is for. Very handy to carry in your haversack. Some form of combustion device, some way of building a fire is absolutely necessary, in my opinion. So this is one of them big, you know, strike force fire strikers, and is very good for using in the field. Very compact. It's got a compartment in the butt of it for carrying a wet fire cube or a tinder of some kind. It's got a little reflector in the base of it. Very handy, very tough, very reliable, and not very expensive. And this will give you tens of thousands of fires, so it's a good fire starting tool. A tinder box of some kind. This one has finely shredded bark in it and a burning lens for making a fire with the sun. Work gloves, protect your hands. Something that I can use down here in my south. Briars are everywhere, or brambles or thorn bushes, you want to call it. And these are very, very handy when I'm gathering or making camp, because half the time I reach down to grab something, I get a handful of briars that you didn't see. So gloves are very, very useful. Insect repellent for different times of the year. Also sunscreen for different times of the year. Along that idea, bio wipes are something you can take baby wipes and put into a Ziploc bag. They're very handy when you sweat, chafe, whatever, and you just need to clean up. Also, if the collination occurs and you're not toting toilet paper, these are handy. I carry a bandana. This is a 3-foot square of bright orange. Also quite often will carry a shemagh. Either one of those. Multi-use items, won't go into them here. Cordage and various kinds of cordage I carry. Bank line is my first choice for 90% of my work, with paracord being a second, but in there definitely. I use this for ridge lines, for making things where I've got to hold a lot of weight, like hanging up a hammock or something like that. A cutting tool, other than what's on your belt, I carry a backup tool in it. Now you can carry a large folding knife like this Granddaddy Barlow, if you like. It's about as big as a Mora, so it is a true backup knife. And it's kept razor sharp and used for duties where I need to do precision work and my big knife may not be sharp enough, or etc. This has been carried as well, a U.S. Army type of folding knife, multi-tool. Some guys like to carry the hobo type thing. Now this gives you a knife blade, and it also gives you an eating utensils to take along. So it's got a fork, a knife, a bottle opener, and of course you've got a knife blade. These are not very expensive, but they can be a worthwhile tool for carrying less gear, because if you didn't, you got to tote something to eat with. This is very handy. Now compasses, I recommend you carry a compass. I have two different kinds here. This one is the type that's a sighting compass. You have a window here and you just point and you look to the thing and you see your bearing. And this is a Silva. This is the one I use for 99% of my stuff. And this one will ride in my shirt pocket when I'm actually traveling. As an alternate, I'll have a small compass in my haversack as a backup. Now, I'll show you that right quick. Didn't point this out earlier, but I've got this great big ferrocerium rod down on the loop on the side of this ammo pouch. But as a backup compass in here, I've got this small little compass in here. And of course, check your compasses. If you don't know what that is, refer back to one of my videos called Nailing a Compass, and it'll point that out to you. Now, we've done cordage, we've done multi-use rags, multi-use bandanas, compass, some sort of folding knife. You can also carry the modern type of tactical knife if that's your thing, but it just needs to be an extra blade so you've got something in the bag if you need it. A lot of guys like to carry a folding saw like this Baco or something similar. They are small and compact and will slide easily down into a haversack. A Mora is a really good thing as a backup blade or even a primary blade to carry in your haversack, and I've used this one for 6 or 7 years now. It's one of my favorite all-time blades, especially for crafting. Now I use my bush lower more for the bushcraft skills, and I use my Mora more for carving tasks and things like that. Something to snack on. A lot of guys will carry, you know, Tootsie Rolls, something just give you a little energy when you're out there. This happens to be a bag of granola out of an MRE. Now, if you're going to be carrying a canteen on your hip, you don't need this. Some guys don't want to do that and they want to carry everything in it. a water bottle of some kind that will fit into a haversack. A lot of guys do that. This is a Swiss type, and it's a canteen cup and a canteen at the same time. Very compact, very handy for carrying in a haversack. It's about the perfect size for it. 55-gallon drum liner. Multi use. You can use it as rain gear. You can use it as a ground cloth. You can use it as an emergency shelter. You can wrap up in it for warmth when you're caught out and it's cold. There's just multi uses. If you do a little bit of search and research on it, you're going to find out a ton of uses, way beyond the scope of this video. Tying it along the bottom, tying it on the strap, something like that. I like to carry one of these emergency space blankets, and this one already has the tent stakes and all in it. So this is an emergency shelter kit right here. I can very quickly throw up, if I've got inclement weather or something coming in, a usable shelter very quickly. Now for a step up, this is like what this is laying on right now, a current issue, I believe, shelter that the military issues now. This one happens to be out of the Marine Corps, and it's camo brown on one side and digital camo on the other, and is a very quick, robust shelter. I've used this in several of my videos. You can set up a diamond or a plow point, you can set up a lean-to, you can set up an awning, the pup tent. There's just all kinds of uses, and it doesn't weigh very much. Again, this is a haversack, not a knapsack. But that's the basic idea of ideas of what to carry in. Stay with me. Rule of thumb that I have used many times is, I take my gear, I make a list of it, and I take it out. And at the end of the day, the weekend, the whatever, I go down that checklist and I mark everything I used. At the end of 2 or 3 events, if I haven't used this, I leave it out, because I'm not using it. And you'll cull down to what you need. I personally, all I carry is this little bitty bag, which is basically, like I said, a fire kit. I've got a big old fire starter, I've got compass, I've got multiple pieces in here, and each one of these is a force enhancing tool. It gives me something I need quickly and that I can produce something with, like building a fire, building a shelter. There's cordage in here. It does not have to be big and bulky. In fact, it should not be big and bulky, because that's the job of the knapsack, the haversack. The haversack is the transition. If I'm going to be going on a scout and I am not planning on spending the night, I will be carrying my haversack, and I will probably across the bottom or on the back of the strap lash this. It weighs dang near nothing. Because if I get stuck, I have the ability to make shelter. So, as Dave Canterbury says about the 5 C's, and I fully agree with that, whatever is in my kit should allow me to make a fire, have water, have shelter, have an ability to make light, or ability to somehow, see my way home, and a compass to get back. Those 5 at least should be covered in a haversack. If I don't have a knapsack. Now if I'm carrying a knapsack, then my haversack can get much lighter, because that shelter is in here. The canteen and all that I'm not carrying on my hip, it's in here. See what I'm saying? It's a mentality. I hope this helps you guys. I hope it clarifies a little bit for you. Please leave any questions or comments in the comment section. I'll be glad to help you if I can. I'm Blackie for Shaman's Forge Bushcraft, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.